would the Senate say that they don't want to invite Manny Pangilinan because he's only a buyer?
I did not say that.
Sinabi doon sa hearing yun, di ba?
I think it was Senate
Oh,
President.
Senate Enrile. Why will they say that they don't want to investigate as well or question Manny Pangilinan?
I think you better invite Senate President
If he's willing to guest, we will be delighted.
Okay.
Meron tayong question dito, 0917-410-6109. Good evening. May we ask the good senator, we know he suspects Mike Arroyo behind Ong Pin. What can he now do to make sure that XFG won't get away with it? What is there any kind of credible evidence that can show that linkage? Meron ba? Or is it basically just right now just a dirty suspicion?
When you see the whole story, and we're still haven't gotten to the MRT bonds, that's 180 million US dollars, the Petron shares, the Meralco shares, you will see a pattern where nobody had the power to command the banks to lend that kind of money to companies that only had paid up of $50,000 and had no business doing business in this country. Makikita mo how they fell all over themselves to lend money.
Pati yung ibang bangko, is it or DBP lang? Kasi may understand, I mean, yun doon sa I think the MRT
SSS.
bonds, yun DBP and Land Bank yun, no?
MRT?
Oh, DBP and Land Bank ang
That's
pumasok
correct.
doon. Pero dito sa Felix, hindi kasama ang Land Bank dyan.
No.
DBP lang.
Not to our knowledge, yeah.
Oo. So, and is it accurate to say na that the share of DBP in the loans is only a small portion of it, that there were 4 or 5 other private banks that had lent a much more massive amount of money to Mr. Ong Pin?
We don't care about that because Mr. Ong Pin did not accumulate the shares in 1 month. He accumulated the shares over 3 years, 07, 08, 09. So we just don't know what were those loans, where they were sourced, and at what time. All we have is we have evidence that this particular block of SSS shares were bought by Mr. Ong Pin, and it was bought in November. And he got a sweetheart deal of a loan, a 2% spread. I mean, you and I, we could never enjoy a 2% spread, could we? Under-collateralized, under-capitalized corporation with no track record of earning more than 100,000 pesos net profit a year. Those are the earmarks of a behest loan, and that's already been decided by the Supreme Court in several cases.
All right. Let me ask you another question that to me is very interesting. That was a first for the Senate. You remember the hearings on the helicopter case of the PNP?
Yes.
Where 3 senators took the rather unprecedented move of filing those cases directly after their hearings with the Ombudsman. Did you... I thought that was rather unusual. You know, I mean, you conduct a hearing in aid of legislation, you make a report, it's recommendatory. But for you to go to the extent of then personally filing that suit, kind of, to me, diminishes the office a little. Because basically, the task of filing it before the Ombudsman rests, you know, you file the complaint or the recommendation to the Ombudsman, they take care of it.
Well, that might have been a reaction to public complaints and the propaganda of the other side that imbestiga lang kayo ng imbestiga wala naman nangyayari. So I think they wanted to prove may nangyayari eto.
Well, of course, nag-file ka ng kaso doon and the Ombudsman will still have to assess it based on their own legal criteria, di ba?
But, you know, senators have filed cases with the Supreme Court. No, not before the Ombudsman, but before the Supreme Court, like I don't know how many times senators.
But on legal issues, not a criminal case, though.
No, question of law, yes.
Question of law, yeah, that's understandable for the clarification of the Senate. No? From 0908-878-7369, bagsak ang oil world prices. Bumababa ang langis galing sa Libya sa world market. So should we not expect some of the prices? Well, one of the effects that they foresee of Libya is now that Gaddafi is out, that the prices of oil will then be moderated. No?
Yeah.
But how does that, mas madali kasi ang i-track yung translation yan sa presyo ng gasolina para pang kotse. Pero hindi masyadong makita sa presyo ng elektrisidad eh.
Well, you must remember, 33% of our electricity already comes from geothermal and hydro. So,
Hindi ganong epekto kung ganon.
yeah.
Kasi
And then
hindi naman
coal.
tayo 100% dependent on
And then
that.
coal.
But coal generally follows, depending upon, of
Our
course,
oil-based plants here are so little. It's about 12% of our total
ganun
installed
ba?
capacity. Yes.
so walang ganong epekto yan sa
Yeah.
total, sa ano.
Correct.
Ito naman ang 0905-740-6569. Ano naman daw ang disadvantages of solar power? Except perhaps the initial
No.
cost.
Maraming disadvantage ng solar power. It can never be used as the basis or the backbone of any
Kailangan
any grid.
supplemental power lang.
Let me finish. I'll tell you why. Solar power has a capacity factor of 16%. In other words, if you have 100 megawatt plant, only 16 megawatts can be delivered. It's only deliverable 8 hours a day, from 8 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock. At night, walang, there's no sun, so there's no solar heat. Thirdly, you have also the problem of pricing. It's 17.95 per kilowatt hour. You're always complaining about high prices.
Mas mataas
Our
yung
grid rates are 5 pesos, and we have to pay 18 pesos per kilowatt hour for solar. If you want to pay that, you're
Go
welcome
ahead
to
and
pay
get your
that.
solar panels.
But why will you let every Filipino subsidize you? See, because that's the theory of the FIT rates, the feed-in tariff. Everybody subsidizes solar, ocean, wind. Fourth, we have available mini hydros at 6 pesos per kilowatt hour, and that has a capacity factor of 40 to 60%, depending upon your source of water. We have wind, which has a capacity factor of about 26 to 50%, depending also on where your windmills will be. And we have biomass, which has a capacity factor of about 70%. So, if they are cheaper and biomass is at 7 pesos, why will we go solar now? Unahin muna natin, ubusin muna natin yung mga mini hydros natin, yung biomass, yung wind, before we even think of paying 18 pesos.
Maybe they're thinking
Wind
of
is
that.
only 10 pesos.
Hindi, kasi siguro iniisip ng mga tao yan, yung solar panel largely for personal residential uses.
Ay, hindi pwede. Hindi sila gagamit. It's 26 pesos per kilowatt hour.
Mas mataas pa.
For the one that's
For
mounted
this,
on your roof.
for supposedly, I guess it
Alam
depends.
po ninyo, ganito yan.
Dali lang. Bago ka magpatuloy lang, at kanina pa ako sinisignalan dito, we have to pause for a few reminders. Babalik po kami, huwag kayong mawawala. Okay, we're back. Ito po, pinag-uusapan namin dito, solar power, and the good senators making a very convincing case that it is extremely uneconomic. Ang paggamit
Unless you
ng
want to
solar
pay 18
power.
pesos per kilowatt hour, then bahala na kayo. Hindi naman pinagbabawalan yun.
Kung gusto niyo sayangin yung salapi ninyo, maglagay kayo ng solar power because it results in a very, very much higher kilowatt hour rate. From 0917-605-5739. Bakit kapag tumaas ang kuryente, Napocor maganda ang paliwanag, Meralco maganda ang paliwanag. Kung titingnan mo sa bill, naka-charge lahat sa consumers. Wala silang lugi.
Sino po?
Ang mga power bill, yung mga nag-supply ng kuryente.
Wala ko silang lugi.
Distribution lang ang Meralco, for example, dito sa Manila. They are not power generators, no?
Yeah. Meralco just passes on the cost of power. It's in the bill, it says Meralco, But that's a pass-on charge. Hindi po sila pwede, wala silang tongpats yan.
Walang tongpats.
No, it's against the law.
Except, well, hindi tongpats, kanya lang lahat